Can you remember a time when you were being used by someone, or manipulated or exploited, even in small ways? And how did it feel? Probably not very good, right? Last Thursday, in the Engaging in the Bodhisattva Deeds teachings, Venerable was commenting on how we use others to amplify our status or fulfill our own pleasure. And as I was reflecting on this, it became more apparent to me just how important it is to be aware of this tendency to act in ways that amplify my status and fulfill my pleasure. And how, if we're not mindful and conscientious, we can easily end up using others in gross and subtle ways, more and more subtle ways, to follow our self-centered attitude and fulfill our own desires and attachments. So there are many gross examples of this in the world that we can draw from. I think Venerable mentioned trophy wives, where often it's a very powerful, wealthy, often older man who's sporting a young, beautiful, youthful woman on his arm to amplify his status and his pleasure. I found it interesting to find that there are such a thing as trophy husbands. However, they have a different definition. So if you think about people, powerful women like Serena Williams and Oprah Winfrey, Ketanji Brown Jackson, Kamala Harris, they have husbands who are capable and willing to step aside and not be the center of the attention. And so it's not often that, it probably happens, but it's not often that women, older wealthy women would choose a young, handsome boy, young man on her arm. But anyway, you get the idea. And then the Me Too movement brought attention to predatory behaviors, and that's a very blatant example, isn't it, of someone who's using another. So names like Harvey Weinstein and Bill Cosby, who? Jeffrey Epstein. I mean, the list goes on and on. If you Google sexual assault in 2021 or 2022, the list is incredibly long, and that's just the celebrities. That's not the little people in the office, or the less known people in the offices that may also be, or in sports leagues or other places that are being called out by women. I suppose there are also predatory women. They don't make the news too often, but I'll bet there are women who do things at the expense, trying to fulfill their own status and pleasure, and yeah, trying to gain some sense of fulfillment at someone else's expense. So there are countless examples like this. There are countless examples in politics, in business, etc. And so these may seem a little bit extreme to us, but what about us? This is what I came back to, is what about me? How is it that I use others based on attachment to gain some kind of pleasure or praise or reputation or gain? So basically it comes down to the 8 worldly concerns, doesn't it? Some kind of attachment to getting something for myself. And so are we aware of the ways that we have used others in the past? Can we admit when we notice that in ourselves, that we're using someone? Sometimes it's a bit subtle to catch, but very worthwhile. I mean, haven't we all flirted with someone to get something from them? Come on, we've all done that, haven't we? It could be just simply wanting another person's attention, or maybe getting a nice meal or a ticket to a concert, or something much more, maybe like a marriage proposal. We don't usually think of dating as using others, but as we've been going through Shanti Deva's text, as we did this morning, Venerable was highlighting how, and you've quoted Lama Yeshe a number of times as saying, when I say I love you, what I'm really saying is I want to use you, meaning that we're really looking towards fulfillment of our own goals through a partner oftentimes. And it's a mutual using, and oftentimes we're not clear about our expectations, and that's what often leads to divorce. But most of us here don't date anymore, so what about us? In the past, have you been attracted to someone because they could increase your status or your reputation? Have you used flattery to get what you wanted from another? Oh, you're so good at doing that. Would you just do that for me? We've done that. Have you drawn close to people to help you achieve your short-term goals only to pull away from them once you've finished those goals? So even in the world of Dharma, people can use others. Some people attend teachings or retreats or tantric initiations with famous lamas with a motivation that includes gaining some status or increasing our reputation, like building up a resume. I've certainly observed this in my travels. Some people try to spend time with their teacher or mentor to feel more important or to gain status. Venerable points this out regularly. What about here at the Abbey? Have we ever tried to get someone to do our chores or something that was our responsibility simply because we didn't want to do it? Have we ever wanted to lead a meditation or a review or give advice to somebody to gain respect or praise from others or to increase our reputation? I'll bet we've all done that at one time or another. And then hopefully we learn. We learn from that. So after Venerable's commentary on Shantideva last week, I caught myself talking with someone in a way that I found was more for my benefit than for theirs. And luckily I caught it because we had just had this teaching and I was happy that I'd caught it. It was a little embarrassing, but I was happy that I could see my mind clear enough and then immediately shift my motivation. So need to do that some more, I'm sure. So as monastics, this is something that we really need to pay attention to because it's so easy to have mixed motivations, polluted motivations for the things that we do. And our activities that look virtuous, like you were talking about today, can easily look like they're dharma. But if our motivation is even slightly tainted with attachment, polluted with self-interest, then it becomes a further cause for samsara, doesn't it? So this is why taking our time to generate our motivation, a virtuous motivation, at the beginning of the day and then refreshing that throughout the day, and checking our motivation when whatever we're doing, we're working, we're talking with people, we're sharing the Dharma, whatever we're doing, it's so crucial to check our motivation at the beginning, throughout the activity, and then even at the end in reflection to see how we did. And especially as it relates to people that we're wanting to help. So as Venerable mentioned in the teaching last Monday, mindfulness and introspective awareness are necessary mental factors for watching our body, speech, and mind, and also for maintaining our values, the values that we've already identified. And I appreciate hearing this again and again and again. Yeah, it's not too difficult to understand it intellectually, and then the application is ongoing, I think, for all of us. And also conscientiousness, too, a mental factor that really values our accumulation of merit. So I think it takes a lot of self-reflection, and a good thing to do at the end of the day to check back and really check this one in particular. You know, how was I in relationship to others? Was there any using of others as it relates to attachment? And then really thinking about what antidotes am I going to apply to this and how am I going to avoid this in the future so that we can become a reliable objects of refuge for the people that we're trying to help.